Today, we have to talk about a buzzword, something I hear all the time, and is actually, I think, more contentious than it needs to be. White privilege. Does it exist? Is it a real thing? I think a lot of people just get tangled up in the white part, and they don't just look at what privilege is, because once you do, I think it becomes very easy whether it exists or not. Look at this thing as a special right, privilege, immunity granted to a specific group or individual. And I don't think that is the definition that upsets people so much. The definition that upsets people so much, I think, is when we blend that definition with a second. When you mix other definitions that may include something that is earned, something that is looked at as an honor or something to be revered. When you mix that understanding of privilege and my original discussion of privilege, then it gets confusing. So once again, we're going to take the white off of privilege and we're just going to look at privilege. Does privilege exist? Do certain people have certain advantages in different situations? And the answer to that is obviously yes. Taller people have a slight advantage in basketball and volleyball, right? People that have money have advantage in buying expensive things or acquiring loans. This is just reality. Stronger people have an advantage when they're doing yard work or moving. Advantage is reality. Nobody will argue that. But why do we get so much argument when people talk privilege? Well, most of the time when people talk privilege, we're not talking about an achieved status, we're talking about an ascribed status. An ascribed status of something that you were given by your society or subculture or what have you, just because of who you are, what you are, where you are, etc. Does that make sense? So, because Karen looked like and sounded like a star singer, the talent agency hired her. It wasn't really about her pipes or her talent or something that she worked for. She just happened to have the right look for the time. Sometimes privilege is something that you just have. So if you just get something, it's just you, should you be ashamed of it? Even if it benefits you? Because there's so many different types of privileges. In certain scenarios, I have privilege. I was privileged to have two parents that went to college. Even though I didn't like certain things in my educational career, I knew it worked for mom and dad. There were books in the house. I could see them reading the newspaper or magazines or what have you. They'd always ask me if I read something yet. This is privilege. It's like educated parent privilege, right? So, if somebody has the look of the dominant culture in a society, would there be privilege that goes along with that in certain situations? If your grandfather was able to lend you a house, leave you some money, is that privilege? If your mother or father could help you with your homework, is that privilege? If your parent was able to give you advice on how to acquire a loan, is that privilege? If you just had two parents in the house, maybe additional grandparents or what have you, is that privilege? If you speak the language properly, not because you were taught it, is that privilege? So people look at things that benefit them in society and deny the existence of privilege in that society because they don't want to diminish the appearance of their own hard work, look like they're taking advantage of other populations. Or they don't want to look at their society as flawed or less than another society. Sometimes privilege is denied because the rectifying or adjusting of society is sometimes looked at as an effort or promotion of communism. So, if we could acknowledge that there could be tall privilege, if we could acknowledge that there could be male privilege, if we could acknowledge that there could be look like a superstar privilege, why is it so hard to acknowledge that the society that we live in could have white privilege? Would it not be very common for the dominant ethnic group to have things in a society that benefit them? Let me know what you think in comments. Let's not argue whether privilege is a real thing. Let's take a look at where does it matter and where does it not matter at all. Where is it harmful? Where is it benign? Thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you think. Once again, always like, share, and subscribe. Send this to somebody that you had this discussion with.
And before you leave, click one of these videos. If you liked or were interested in what we just discussed, you will love one of these videos. Don't go anywhere. Click one of these videos.